Hello and welcome to part 2 of the lecture, the practice case study. So far we steps, 5 to be exact, and the Hansen case study model. And what we want to do now is step 6, which is to review and prioritize the data or information so far. If we go back and we look at the people data, we'll see that all except for perhaps one of these pieces of information is relevant to our solving our problem or answering our questions. Probably the one that's not relevant is meeting with the school superintendent. That doesn't give us any more information or any relevant information that we need to create the solution. So we eliminate it. Probably everything to do with program is important or relevant. You could make a case for eliminating number 1. Most high schools do serve this age level. And it's probably relevant that we need the place information because School A will have to accommodate the students' personnel and resources from School B. So let's look back at our questions again. We have these 4 questions, and we have to be able to think about 2 important issues that will occur, could occur as the blended school opens. Recall that we have to talk about how it will be beneficial to involve families with regard to these 2 issues. We have to talk about specific actions that we'll take and why the actions would be effective. And we have to talk about what additional challenges. So we have to think proactively about our solutions and then think about what those challenges might be if we take this course of action, how we're going to handle those challenges. Before we get into what an adequate response might be for this practice case study, I do want to describe that the Department of Education in New York actually looks at 3 performance characteristics for your answers. Completeness has to do with the degree to which the response addresses all parts of the assignment. That is, have you answered all the questions well, and have you answered every part of every question? Some of the questions have 2 parts, so that is the case in this particular case study, as we'll see when we go through the answer. Accuracy has to do with the degree to which the response demonstrates the relevant knowledge and skills accurately and effectively. So this has to do with course content. Have you been able to take the content that you're learning and apply it to this case study? This is a completely open book, open notes case study. You can go back to the lectures, you can go back to any articles, any chapters that you would like to refer to use to guide you in your response. The third performance characteristic consists of depth of support and understanding. This is the degree to which the response provides appropriate examples and details that demonstrate sound reasoning and reflects a strong understanding of the relevant knowledge and skills. So, for example, if you're making a suggestion or you're coming up with a solution to a problem in the case study, do you use data that are embedded in the case study as support, or is it just your own opinion? Can you use data that's been presented during the course, theories, models, suggestions from other researchers, for example? So these are the 3 performance characteristics for how NYSED scores these items. To go back to the practice case study, you will see the relevant facts here grouped by people, by place, and by program once again. If we look at these, we will see that there are in fact two statements that relate to parents' beliefs about differing achievement levels. And in fact, the different achievement levels. It's not just parents' beliefs. That is, number 2 under program, students at School A are offered more AP classes, have a higher graduation rate, more Regents diplomas, and more of their students go on to attend college than students in School B. So we can see that there's a disparity in achievement levels. And also, number 5, parents from School A expressed concerns that students from School B were not as academically oriented. So this is more of a belief, but the two go together and support the concern that there may be different achievement levels between the students in School A and School B, with School A scoring higher. A second issue is certainly the lack of parent and student involvement in School B. Look at item number 3 under program. Parents at School A indicated greater satisfaction overall with their school than parents at School B in all categories. Of particular concern at School B were issues surrounding parents' interactions with teachers and comfort level at the school. We might also include number 5 under people. In a survey sent to parents, a greater percentage of parents from School A responded. So we're slowly developing a picture that students, parents who are in School A are more involved, more comfortable with school. So that is a second issue. There are other issues embedded in here. You could probably think of at least one. For example, I think one of the issues might be how to transfer in successfully all of the different faculty, how to transfer in all the different resources and building, accommodate all the students in terms of building facilities and resources. But because our course is focused on communicating with stakeholders, we will select for our two issues the first issue, the difference in achievement and how to improve that, and the second issue, the lack of parent and student involvement in School B. Now let's go to the practice case study paper and actually read a response that was written. This isn't modified from what's on the website because I thought it needed more detail. But you can see it at the after it comes after the practice case study in the document on the website. We're going to go through it, and you can note how each portion of each question is carefully answered. You can see my comments in the margins. So here we have a sample response. This person wrote, I anticipate that different achievement levels at schools A and B create a potential for conflict at the newly consolidated school. Some School A parents and guardians do not believe School B students can meet rigorous academic standards. The difference in graduation rates in the two schools supports this concern. Teachers and students may share this belief, which could have a negative effect on achievements for School B students. A second issue is the reluctance of School B families to involve themselves in school activities. Only 35% of families from School B responded to last year's Family Perception Survey, showing that more than half of School B parent guardians were disengaged from their school. Of those responding, fewer than half reported feeling quite a bit welcome. These families could become disenfranchised. So this first paragraph, if you read my comment, this section is a complete response to question A. So that's the first question about identifying two issues. Note how it describes two areas of concern. It describes the different achievement levels, and it describes the lack of parental involvement in School B. Note how this paragraph provides support for these issues from data in the case study. So the author constantly goes back to the survey data. It's not just his or her opinion. You need to incorporate data that's in the case study and provide support for your ideas. Let's go to paragraph 2. As the consolidated school opens, it will be important to engage families from both schools in order to form positive relationships, set a tone, and establish a model of working together. The concern demonstrated by School A parents, guardians, and disengagement by School B parents, guardians must be addressed by bringing families together. Involving families from both schools will demonstrate this is a new school. Staff and students should be aware that parents and guardians from both schools are reaching out and encouraging other parents, guardians, and students. And it goes on a bit. This paragraph directly addresses question 2, or the second question, about why is it beneficial to involve families. If you note the end of this paragraph, the last sentence is particularly important. These best practices are likely to promote student and parent involvement in the consolidated school, which is likely in turn to impact student achievement. The next paragraph describes the specific steps to be taken and is in response to question C. So I won't read this whole thing, you can read it, but it does state that the first action will be to conduct outreach to School B families, and the author describes how to do that. The next paragraph, in addition to outreach, I will recruit School B families to serve with School A families on committees. And we go on. Finally, I would also conduct a needs assessment using separate focus groups and interviews of students and parents from schools A and B. So they're going to use a little bit of research, similar to the way we've done in class. The next paragraph describes why these actions would be effective, and it's in direct response to the second part of question C, the third question. I believe that these steps would be effective because I would be in almost constant communication with the parents and guardians from both schools A and B. Also, as important stakeholders, families would be involved in helping to shape the process of consolidation, which would help to provide them with a sense of ownership and investment in the school. The next paragraph describes the challenges to this course of action and how they might be met. Question D. Additional challenges may result from involving families to this extent. There may be tension between families from School A and B, especially for parents, guardians heavily involved in the sports rivalry. One possible way to bring students and families together over this is to have the consolidated school select a new team name and our mascot together, building on a sense of community. The paper concludes with ways that the individual has thought of to manage the challenges. To manage these challenges, I plan to continue holding open meetings, working with the transition team, etc. Very specific, very targeted towards each part of the questions. The worst thing you can do is to leave off parts of questions. You'll want to target those, and you'll want to support your ideas with information from the course and information from the case study itself. So now that we know a little bit about the steps involved with writing a case study, you can go ahead and listen to the next lecture, which is about about the specifics of the actual course case study.